Hey y'all, what's up? Welcome to another edition. I believe we call this thing. We were calling to talk about it Thursday, so we'll stick with that, even though it is Wednesday. Inside of Black People Parenting, of course, you know me, it's Dion. You can call me Showtime, whatever the spirit leads you to call me. But we're having a special conversation today about college students and sexual health. So I've got some guests along with me who are mothers. Actually, everybody up here with me is a mother. There's one grandmother that's on the panel. We'll get to her. But and a great grandmother. I'm sorry, I stand corrected. But we'll get to her. But I think this is important, an important conversation for us to have, especially for me, someone who just sent my daughter off to college as a college freshman. And I think it's important to have conversations as parents, like about what we're telling our young people about sex, what we're telling our young people about HIV and AIDS, particularly in this climate of COVID, where it seems like HIV and AIDS and sexual health has, taken a seat in the back, when it comes to conversations that we have. When you see things on the news about monkeypox and you see things on the news about COVID and about all of these other illnesses and all of these other diseases, you don't really hear a lot about HIV and AIDS anymore. And that can cause some folks to think that it don't exist, right? So I wanted to have this conversation with this group of people because these are people who I know specifically have sent their kids to college and share in the same struggles that I share in. And honestly, I've had individual conversations with each of them about this journey as a parent sending our children off to college. So I'll first introduce the wonderful, the beautiful, the gracious Dr. Bambi Gaddist, who is always my partner in crime in these conversations. Hello, Dr. G. How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. I'm just so honored to be here. Mr. Chavis is such an innovative thinker and always keeps us on point about things that we need to be thinking about. So when he came with this topic, I said it couldn't be a better time because everybody's sending kids back to school right now. But I want to shout out to my other colleagues and to the HIV Clinical Trials Network. That's why we're able to be here. Mr. Chavis has been serving as a consultant for over a year. So I'm excited to be in this space, to meet some new friends. And I'm just can't wait to hear what they have to say and what kind of exchange we're going to have tonight.
Absolutely. And if you're watching the video, if you're listening to the podcast, be sure to like it. Be sure you subscribe to the Black People Parenting YouTube channel, Black People Parenting Podcast, and all that. And also, most importantly, be sure that you just share it with somebody so they can get something out of this conversation. Also, next up, let me introduce Bree. Hey, Bree.
Hi.
Now, Bree, tell us who you are. Tell us your child's age and where they're going to college, if you want to.
Sure. My name is Bree. I originally am from Virginia, currently just recently moved back to California from Texas. I left my firstborn, my baby Jada. She's in Texas. She's going to Texas State to study animal science. She wants to be a veterinarian.
Why didn't she go to Tuskegee? Okay, never mind.
Dr. G, listen.
We'll talk.
She's 17 and know it all.
My goodness. My goodness. Okay. Next up, can I get an Aggie Pride?
Aggie Pride.
Maya, tell them about you. Tell them about your journey as a parent so far, and just a couple of things that you think people would want to know about you and your daughter.
My daughter is 18, and she's been through everything with me. I am a divorced parent, so she's gone through that with me, and she's really been there through everything. I had her when I was 24. I did not know what I was doing, so it's been very challenging, but it's been very rewarding. We're very close. We talk about everything under the sun. I create a safe space for her to talk to me about everything. Nothing is off limit. And I'm just so proud, that I was able to send her to North Carolina A&T, and that was the school that she wanted to attend, the HBCU she wanted to attend. So that's really it.
Dope. Next up,
what's her major going to be?
Biology.
She's a
Yes.
biology major.
Yes.
Thank you, Maya. Next up, Courtney. Now, I'll say this: Courtney may not know it or not. She may know it, she may not, but she was actually the catalyst for this conversation. Number one, Courtney is the only one of us on the panel who has a son in college. The rest of us have girls. And Courtney posted something when she was sending her son off to college that really it made me think. And I didn't tell her this. This is my first time saying it publicly, but when she posted like his kit of things that she was sending with him, like his snacks and his laundry detergent and all of those things, I spied with my little eye a box of condoms.
Go,
So that made me say, damn,
go.
why didn't I think of that?
Right.
And when it was time for us to have this conversation, that's why I wanted Courtney here, because obviously she had conversations that were important, and she took the initiative to say, this is what you can do, son, to protect yourself. So Courtney, just introduce yourself real quick. Tell us about you. Tell us about your son and all those things.
Hi, y'all. My name is Courtney. I'm originally from Maryland. I came to Raleigh, North Carolina for college myself, and I'm here ever since. My son is a freshman at UNC Charlotte. Whoop, whoop. He is on the football team, and he's majoring in so. And Showtime, I did not know this.
Absolutely. See, you never that goes to show you never know who's watching, like on social media,
Right.
and you never know how you can impact someone else. So for
Right.
those that don't know, like I said, my daughter's 18. I sent her off to North Carolina A&T, and just as a father, for me, it was different, right? Because we have conversations with our daughters, we have conversations with our children, but of course, the relationship between a father and a daughter is different than the relationship between a mother and a daughter. So I want to start with Bree and kind of ask you, like with Jada, what were some of the things that you talked to her about leading up to college that you thought were important in terms of keeping herself safe with the decisions that she was making, and if she was deciding to have sex or not? Like, how did you have that conversation? What were some of the things y'all talked about?
I had Jada when I was 19. So I had like Maya said, I had no clue what I was doing. Thankfully I had like a village behind me. But I think because um I grew up with Jada, and I work in the medical field, and I've worked at Planned Parenthood. So a lot of things I just came out and told her, like, hey, these you know uh college is going to be a whole new ball game for you. It's you have to I have to talk to her realistic, because I feel like sometimes I want to kind of bait her and move around, the conversation, but you have to be realistic with your children. So, I just let her know, like, look, there's going to be, parties. You may, feel pressured into doing things you don't want to do, and watch your drinks and cups and all that other stuff. Like, you have to be realistic. So, my standpoint, it was like, hey, look, this is what the STDs that's out there. This is, you can't get rid of HIV. You can't, so I approached it just head on, direct. It stresses her out a lot of times, because she's just like, mom, please, just but I'm just like, look, this is what it is. You have to protect yourself, because and you also, if anything happens, go to the doctor. Don't just be ashamed to, hide things, because, if you don't get things untreated, you can become sterilized and things like that. So I just want her to be aware. So I definitely educated her direct, like, look at these pictures, look at this information. Here is what it is, because colleges, you're finding who you are, who your friends are. You're exploring into the new adult world. So it's just a lot, and you can get caught up in the fun, and the boys are so nice, and they're cute, and they're doing their little shimmies and all that other stuff.
Mm, mm, mm.
you have to be careful, you know. So my approach was always just direct, honest, and truthful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Maya, what about you?
Just like Bree, very, very honest. I think that I gave Liana a lot of anxiety because approaching her senior year, I was like on it. Like, do you have an urge to have sex? Like, are you feeling anything? Because at the time she had a boyfriend. So I'm asking the questions like, I know they were kissing. So I'm like, okay, what's happening after you're kissing? Are you feeling, mom, no, don't mom me. Like
Right.
I know how this goes, so trying to find out where her head is. And she just flat out told me like, no, mom, I'm not ready to have sex. I don't even want to go on birth control. So I stress the importance of realizing that for one, times are different now. Like they're making decisions for our wombs now, so it's different than how it was when I was growing up, as far as pregnancy, a mistake, whatever. These diseases out here, you can't get rid of them. Like it's a lot. The pressure that you're going to feel is much greater than what you felt in high school. It's a whole new world. Mommy's not there, daddy's not there, papa's not there. It's just you making the right decisions based off of what has been instilled in you. But she assures me that she's not ready for any of that. She doesn't want to go on a pill, or any type of birth control. I'm like, and that scares me because some of her friends did go to school, on birth control, but she didn't want it. And, I have to respect that. But I was just like, look, these niggas don't wear condoms. They don't
Mm,
like it,
they
okay?
sure don't.
Already, they don't want to
And
wear.
they dirty. They don't take baths.
Hey,
Mhm.
hey. We
I'm sorry. Just
Yeah,
a flashback. Just
Now, and I have
I'm,
y'all not gonna do that.
all right, Courtney.
Courtney said, hold up.
So Courtney, as a boy mom, and not only Courtney is a boy mom, but her son is on the football team. So he's a star athlete. So I know the girls. I didn't seen him on Instagram. I didn't, he's a good looking young man. He in
Don't
shape.
stress me out.
yep,
I can already tell. He keep the latest J's on his feet. I know that they running them down.
and the
So
ratio is about 15
I'm
to
crying.
1.
Right.
so Courtney, the conversation with you, it had to be different. So tell us what was your conversation and how did he receive that if you had the conversation?
I did, and most of the time, smiling, he doesn't want to have it. Like he don't want to hear what I say. I talk to somebody else. Like, no, you can talk to me about it. And I just try to tell, look, don't be thirsty. Everybody that's trying to give you, you don't have to take it. Like, and if just choose your partner very carefully. First of all, be very cautious of your partner, and the ones that are cute does not mean clean. First of
Mm,
all,
mm,
so just
mm.
because you look nice, that does not mean
That's a book right there.
it
Cute does not
has
mean clean.
no, it does not. So be very mindful, be very careful. I just try to instill in him to make good decisions, and that's just all around good choices. You can pick and choose who you want to be with, who you want to lay with. You don't have to run up on the person that wants to be with you. Um, Use protection. Of course, I say abstinence all the time, but that's not realistic. So if you choosing to be that way, then here is protection. Make sure you always use protection. And if somebody's trying to tell you not to use protection, you probably don't even want to be with her. You know,
Run,
just
run.
her altogether, saying no, we don't need it. And if there's any time that you're low, reach out if you can't get none. I will get you some. I will make sure you have protection. I have located the nearest clinics for him in Charlotte. Like you can go here if you're feeling something. Don't be ashamed. Let me know like what's going on. Um, just try to have a real conversation with him. Like, look, I was in college. I know what goes on. I know what happened. So it's not nothing that I haven't seen or heard before. But just be smart about it. Always use protection and just be mindful of the people that you're with.
Right, right. And I think all of those pieces of advice are important. So, Dr. G, you have worked on these HBCU campuses. You know how things can get. Um, what is your perspective, or what has your perspective been of students who come onto the campus, right? The parents have gone, parents then going back home, right? So we, as parents, we can talk till we blue in the face. Once they get on that campus and they by themselves and they with their friends, they with their crew, and they get ready to do whatever they finna do, they gonna do it. What's your perspective of how these young people are coming onto campus? Do you think they're coming onto campus prepared, or do you think that as parents there's something that we can do differently to kind of help lead the way?
A lot was said, all that I agree with. One of the key elements that I heard from all of the parents here is that they started early. They started early talking, creating an environment where they could talk, and their child could feel like they would be protected in that space. I would remind us, however, that even among those of us that believe that we have a certain level of communication with our children, think about us. Think about how we were in our day. We always withhold some information.
Absolutely.
We always withhold something. For the reasons are vast and wide. But one of the key things that was critical is that they start early. And most parents are so afraid of the conversation, and they limit their conversation around an act. Part of what we want to continue to reinforce with young folks is, what is your vision for the future? Bree talked about her daughters going into pre-veterinary medicine.
Yes,
Going into biology, which tells me that there's potentially a medical intention down the road. What is your son's major, Courtney?
Accounting.
My first husband was an accountant. Anyway, that's another story for another day. But my point is that their vision of getting from that vision has everything to do with the choices they make between the time you drop them off and the time you pick them up to give them their hat, their hood, and their gown, because that should be the driver. And anything and anyone that potentially gets in the way of me reaching that final goal needs to be reevaluated. The other thing Courtney said that was also important is she talked about resources. She has already investigated in the area where her son is matriculating. Where are the resources? I was that resource. The South Carolina HIV Council Right Wellness Center was 3 blocks, if that, away from 2 Black colleges. And in driving distance of a major predominantly white institution, several. We got all of those students that were coming in for HIV, STD testing, students that were coming in with symptoms who needed to be diagnosed and subsequently treated. There are innovations out here like PrEP. How many of you talk to your young people about PrEP? If you don't know,
aware.
Pardon?
Oh, she's aware of it. I did talk to her about. I've talked to her about PrEP.
Are you in the health field?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so most parents are not. So when we talk about prevention, for example, STDs, we assume they talked about it in high school, but the reality is that many of them didn't. The school district was charged with providing instruction and didn't. They didn't talk about the new innovations in HIV prevention, like pre-exposure prophylaxis or PrEP, that you can take a pill and prevent getting HIV now.
Oh, wow.
Just like you can take a pill and get an erection. We call that the other blue pill that you can take and prevent contracting or acquiring HIV. But because we didn't get that in our studies, and we don't know about it because it's not marketed to us.
It's
We don't,
100% marketed to just gay men, it seems like.
and it's not just gay men. Black women need to know about PrEP because we never know whether someone's being transparent about their preferences.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so the fact that you went out of your way to find out where are the resources where if they do have a critical need, whether it's pregnancy prevention or STD prevention or treatment, they know where to go. And so certainly that would be a major thing that I would encourage all parents who are sending their children off, whether it's for the first time or their juniors, seniors, or sophomores. They need to know where the resources lie. And they may, we got to come to the terms with how we sent them, may be slightly different than how they're behaving when they come home for Christmas break. And we won't be able to drill them to death. Tell me every gruesome detail. Tell me everything that happened while you were gone.
I ain't said that. She can't say.
They'll tell us some and maybe not all.
So let me ask this, and I'm gonna pose this to whoever wants to answer it. With all of us being our first semester of having a student in college, right? What type of behavioral cues are you going to be looking for when your kids come back, whether it be on a break, whether it be on a weekend visit, that might indicate that something is going on with them that wasn't going on when they were home?
I know when I went to Jalen maybe 2 weeks ago, I am checking. I'm just staring at him like, "What's up, Mom?" I'm like, "You got a little darker. I see this has changed on you." I'm looking him down like, "Do they got you in the sun too long? Practicing all."
Sunscreen.
I mean, I'm just staring him down, just trying to see what the difference are. Are you too quiet? Like, why aren't
Right.
you, talkative like you used to be? Even so much as we went out to dinner, and he seemed to have frustrated after ordering, and I'm like, "What's going on with you?" I said, "We just ordered the food. Why are you so impatient?" So then he says, "Oh, well, they feed the football team. Anytime I think about being hungry, I eat." I'm like, "Oh, excuse me." But I mean, I just noticed that he was a little agitated, just waiting. I'm like, "Okay, well, when you get home, things will not be like that. So be
Right.
prepared to be hungry again and waiting until I cook, or you're gonna do something else." But I definitely just looking for any and everything.
And
Any
it's more than the cafeteria that's giving him attention.
okay,
Feeding
exactly.
them.
He's
Feeding them.
yeah, okay.
That
I'm not suggesting that, but I am saying that he is a target.
yes.
Any man in a uniform is a
Yes.
target.
Oh, and we had those conversations also. So I have definitely talked to him about that as well. So be careful on all levels. I'm just like, it's sad, but you have to have your guard up at all times. You got to be cautious. But any of the other moms want to say how they found out about their child or see any differences, they're free to say.
Yeah. I think it's just, it's we as parents, we know our child. Like I know Jada is like the life of the party, and she's going to mix and mingle with everybody on the campus, no matter what background. So I feel like, if she came back and she was just like, "Oh, I just want to sit in a room," and became like, kind of just closed and guarded, I would watch out for that, versus like if somebody's kid was super quiet and shy, they're just like, what's, you're going to, you're exploring yourself, you're like, you don't like this, just trust parents.
Bree, you're breaking up.
Ray, you're breaking up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
Now.
Okay. But you just always have to trust your parent gut. Your child better than anyone. So you just always have to be mindful. And like you said, just look them up and down, watch out their mannerisms, just watch how they do things. And I feel like, for the most part, you can Of course, there's always going to be some things that slip through that they won't tell you about, but you just have to, I always say just trust your gut.
Yeah.
Dion, I had a very lengthy conversation with a young woman. She's now in her 30s, but she came out to her mother, her parents at 16, and she shared with them that she was gay. And the conversation that we had was so intriguing because that it impacted who she, even to this moment. She is a young person who is unaccepting of who she is. And a lot of students get into the college environment where they've been spending a large percentage of their time while they're in their home, while they're in their church, camouflaging, hiding. And then they get to college and they have this freedom that they may not have had.
Right.
And things that they thought about, they begin to pursue. And so I add that to this space because, we're making some very careful assumptions in this space about who we think our children are. I'm making some guessing. You could correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, and those of us that are in a heterosexual paradigm, we think our kids are who they are and who we train them to be and who the church says that they are. And then some come home and they're not who they were when they left. And the chaos and the trauma that it creates in the family, because they may have delayed their first sexual encounter with a same gender person all the way until they got to college. And then they were able to be free enough to experiment or explore it, and they come back totally different. And so I really struggle with this thing we parents have about thinking we know our kids, thinking we know our young adults, when there's just so many spaces like for us that they don't have a clue about us. They think they know us, but they don't know us because there are things we don't have to tell them. We don't have to tell them some of these things because we're grown and we took care of them. We nurtured them. We got them where they are. We're not obligated to tell them who we were or who we are. But we think our kids are going to do that with us, and they don't. So everything that I've heard from Bree, Maya, and Courtney really is the basis of what we seek to do every time we encounter them, which is to be authentic as we can, to be as caring and loving as we can, knowing and continuing to give them the lecture, continuing to give them the message.
So hold on right there, Dr. G, because there's a question in the chat that I want to get to, right? But you said something, and I want to ask a question based off of what you just said. So all of us, all four of us, all five of us, because Dr. G, you have children, grandchildren, and great grandchildren. All five of us have made attempts to guide these young people the best way that we know how, right? And we have given them the best insight that we can, the best knowledge that we can. We've done all that we can, right? For us four, we got them to 18. We had a human being that we were responsible for 18 years. We got them there alive, right? But what happens to the parent, us, when we're having these conversations? And it seems like we're hitting a brick wall. It seems like everything that we're saying is falling on deaf ears because, like Bree said, they think they know everything. They think they have all of the answers. They think that they don't need our insight anymore. For me, I'm talking from personal experience, that takes an effect on me mentally because it's like I can't keep battling with you, right? but also I can't let you go. Like I can't let you go out here in this world.
What does that
thinking that
mean when you say you can't let them go?
to me, that means I have trouble. This is what and I learned this in therapy. I have trouble setting healthy boundaries with my children because I'm a helicopter parent. I ain't gonna lie to you.
Too.
Like
I'm real bad.
I real bad.
Real bad.
I want to know where you at. I want to know who you was with, what you did, everything.
And you're also
right?
the one persons are more likely to tell an untruth to.
To a degree, sure, absolutely, yes, absolutely,
You're
absolutely.
more. I didn't say you were, but I
Right. More like
choose
right,
the word carefully.
right.
I said
Agree.
because you acknowledge and demonstrate through your behavior. I'm
Agree. Now,
certain.
I'm not the one that's going to say you can't do this or prohibit you from doing this. Like I want you to go out and see the world. And before my daughter went to college, she wanted to go to Houston on her first flight by herself, and I had the conversation with her. Okay, this. Houston ain't Raleigh, right? Like Houston and Raleigh is two different places. But if this is what you feel like you need to, go ahead, sis, handle your business.
Oh, you
But let
did.
me tell you what to expect when you get out there. But my question is, how have you all handled the mental aspect of dealing with teenagers who, again, think that they know everything? I want to hear from you on this one.
Um, I try to ask Liana why she thinks the way she thinks. When she doesn't give me pushback much, but when she does, I'm like, okay, tell me why you think this. Why do you think this way? And I usually have something to counteract it with. Um, I have to back up and let her make her decision because 9 times out of 10, she's making a mistake. She's going to come back to me and say, well, mom, you were right. I have to refrain from the I told you so. It's just like, okay, well, let's pick it up. Let's pick up the pieces. How can we fix this? Um, but I just try to let her hear what I have to say, why I feel the way I feel. And I listen to what she has to say. And I'm just like, okay, you're 18. So you have to make the decisions. I have to let your hand go. I have to allow you the space to be able to make a mistake and say, okay, I was wrong. My mom was right. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what I'm doing out here. I do need her guidance. It's so hard because I've been there every step of the way. So to just think that I'm in a space where I have to just let her be and I don't have like any type of control over anything is very hard for me as a mother. Like example, this isn't about sex, but this is something that just happened and it disappointed me. They had the new freshman orientation or like the induction for the new students. And I asked her, did she go? And she was like, no, I didn't have my shirt. Why didn't you have your shirt? And she said, well, I went to go get it, but they didn't have it. Well, I know that Liana was too busy off campus getting her nails done, getting her toes done at this party and at that party. So that's why she didn't get her shirt. But I didn't express the disappointment to her. I just let her tell me why she didn't have it. And I just said, okay. But I know she felt it, because when I say okay, she's like, oh yeah, my mom, she's not feeling that. But I was like really disappointed. How could you miss something like that because you was off campus at a party and you wanted to get your nails done and all that? I'm like,
I think what like, so my wife and I, we're totally opposite parents. She's true helicopter parent and I'm I'm more hands off. I think because that's how my mom was. So, I don't a lot of things like, my wife will check Jada's grades like in high school, like she would check them all the time. And Jada, why were you absent? Why was you this? And I feel like my approach is more like, hands on. Like if you don't go to class, if you continuously be late, you're going to have to make that time up. And they can fail you, they can do whatever, and that's going to be on you. Like, I tell you this is what you should do, this is what you need to do, but I'm trying to instill that responsibility in you. So, you have to be responsible for yourself. You have to want to go to school. Sometimes it does kill me. I think Now I want to be more helicopter because it's just like she in a whole different state at college. So, I want to, I'm checking her location and stuff like that. But I think that's just my anxiety with safety. That's important. But I just feel like I have to give my child grace. Just like, times are hard. Like I'm stressed, I'm wore out, I'm mentally exhausted. So why would I not think my 17-year-old that's going into college, that's going to a whole new thing, that's been spoon fed this whole time and now is all on her own. So, I have to give her grace. So, my wife is just like, sometimes she'll be more like, well, all you got to do is go to school and do this. It's not that hard. But, there's other factors into play besides just attending school, especially excuse me, at 17 or 18. So, I try to give her grace, and I try to be open and honest. And, I want her to always, come to me with whatever. So, I just try to be mindful. I wasn't this 37-year-old person always, so I was making 17-year-old decisions. So I can't expect my child not to. And someone told me once that what my child is doing, I cannot take personal. Like, they're not doing that to intentionally hurt me. So once I grasp, like, she's not doing, wanting to hang out with her friends, even though I told her no, she's not doing that to spite me. She just really wants to go with her friends, and that's really their priority. So once I took it out, because I think once you start taking it personal, it's just like, man, I'm feeding you, I'm giving you shelter, I'm doing all this stuff, I'm exposing you to different things. So
And
now it's like you owe me. And it's like that doesn't work, because that creates resentment, that creates an interesting dynamic with my child, her me resenting, like, you can't even just go to school. I'm doing all this for you, but you can't
you
even,
know, one of the things I think that if we take it away from them and put it back on us, which is, I grew up, a man raised me and my sisters from 8, 10, and 2. He made it crystal clear that he was not our plan B. He said, once you leave, you're not coming back. And we were all girls. And his basic premise was, if they're not clear on this, I'm going to have these young girls running back and forth every time they hit a spot, every time a man dog them out, whatever, they're going to be running back to daddy. He made it clear he was not our plan B. And so there were very distinct limits placed on us, meaning we all knew we had 4 years to finish. Wasn't going to be no extra year. Oh, I'm going to lay out a year. We all knew. And he set that precedent. You don't have to don't go to class. Because one of the things that parents think is that the colleges, and I taught at the collegiate level at several institutions, one of the biggest misnomers for parents is that you have the right to check up on your child, and you do not. You cannot get access to their grades. Yes, you may be paying the tuition, but by law, the school institution is not required to consult with you. They are just seen as adults, young adults. So you could very well not even see the grades that you're paying for them to execute. And so in that space, we're supportive, we're giving them information, but part of that information is really for us. We're giving you this opportunity. If you have the right as a young adult to take advantage of the opportunity that we're providing for you, or you don't, but trust and believe. If you don't take this opportunity, it may not be there later on.
There is a certain level, based on what Bree and Dr. G just said. There's a certain level of ego that comes with parenting, right? And I think that as our children get older, we have to, as parents, release that ego and release that spirit of, I did this for you, so you owe me XYZ. I am doing this because of XYZ. And I think Bree hit the nail on the head when she says that so often when our children do things that we don't agree with, we take it personal.
I'm
N-
guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that.
now the conflict for me comes with, again, against something that Bree said. She said that at 17, her mom let her do certain things. My I'm not even going to call it pushback. My feelings, right? My feelings are that being 17 in 1999 is totally different than being 17 in 2022.
Absolutely.
My fears are based solely on that, solely on the fact that the world has changed so drastically from when I graduated high school in 1998 and when Nyla graduated high school in 2022. How can we as parents overcome those fears and stop putting our fears and our egos onto our young people?
You've answered it. We have to work on self. This is
Right.
our issue. This is not
That's
their.
not their journey. Like our
That's
journey
not their
back in that,
responsibility
yeah.
to legislate, to try to help us get to that point. That
Mhm.
young lady I talked about, she is in turmoil because she cannot figure out how to get her mother to accept the fact that she is a young gay woman. And she has these notions about how she can convince her. And my statement to her was, baby, it's not your responsibility. Your mama is grown. She says she is a woman of God. The first lesson is, judge ye not lest ye be judged. It says, lead a child up in the way that he and she should go, and they will not defect from it. And so once we do what we've done, which is to give them 100 and all that we can, and we all know we still gonna give it to them. But at some point, as Bree indicated, there, if we don't step off and step back, it's no different than our spouses.
Yeah, I think we have to sometimes let them make the mistake. I told Jalen, I said, I'm trying to help you so that you don't make the same mistakes that I've made or somebody else has made. Like, I'm trying to save you. He said to me that he wants to make some of those mistakes. He don't want me to tell him everything. He said he wants to make some of.
You don't
I
want
mean,
to be saved.
it's nothing else. You just got to go through it then. But I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to go through something when somebody is clearly telling you don't have to go through
Well,
that. Just listen to me. But I let him on
but
something.
Courtney, I think it's not like, he actually wants to make those mistakes, but he has to, like, how if you were just born into money, you're not going to understand the value of it, so I think he, like, when he's saying, like, I want to make those mistakes, it's just like I want to learn that lesson
Right,
in
right.
that mistake, versus
So,
just, I can tell you something, but once you go through it and you experience it, you hold on to it more. You have those experiences, you understand, the meaning behind it, instead of just somebody,
No
it's not
one can
valuable,
protect you
just,
from it. And
right, right.
no one can protect you from
right.
the lesson, that God has for you. Your parents can't keep you from it. It's like a destiny. It's
Absolutely.
like some people have a destiny to experience certain things. And I'll never forget, I having a friend that was always in turmoil. And every time I felt compelled to step in, to try to rescue, to try to make it better. And one day God spoke to me crystal clear. And it was so clear. You know how he talks to you sometimes and you know it's him. One, because the way he put it to you, you don't talk like that. So it's not self-talk, And he said, get out of my business.
Mm.
He said, get out of my business. Every time I seek to address and deal with this individual, here you come, getting in my way. Step off. And that's, I think, for so many parents, our reflection, we have to say, Did I do everything that I could think of? Did I talk to them about sexuality? Did I tell them all that I know? Did I direct them to information like Courtney was talking about? Did I share with them from a spiritual perspective where I sit, where my values are, what our family values are, and how they're a manifestation of our family values, and we want them with all our mistakes. We still, one of the key values is that I love you regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You gonna mess up because you're not always gonna listen to what I'm saying, and I know you're gonna trip up and fall. Why? Because I tripped and I fell, but you're gonna get up.
So how do we, so how have you all handled, well, maybe let me, maybe it's just me. I'll say this. So when I let Nyla go off to college, when she went, there was a certain level of remorse that began with me, probably when she turned 18, and it was full of everything that Dr. G just said. Did I do enough? Was I there enough? Did, did, did I do the things that I was supposed to do? Could I have gotten her involved in more activities? Did I push her as far as I could have academically? Did me not being with her mom hurt her more than I actually thought that it did hurt her in the long term? And you know, it's a sense of remorse that I personally had, and I struggle with, and I dealt with, and deal with, and talk to my therapist about, and all of those things. How have y'all managed the, I guess, the looking back and saying, well, I didn't do this, but I guess let's call it the woulda, coulda,
I don't
shoulda.
look back.
Right?
I don't look back. My daughter's 42. I don't look back.
Teach
I
me
don't
your
look
ways,
back.
Dr. G. Teach
I
me your ways.
gave it 100.
Teach me your
I
ways.
told her, I gave you everything that I have to give.
Mm-hmm.
I can't, and even now, as a grown woman, we don't always agree, but at the core of it, she knows I gave her 100. And I'm not looking back. I'm not looking back on that. I'm not looking back on my past other marriage. I gave it 100. I gave it all I had. And guess what? If it wasn't okay for you, I ain't mad. We could still be friends because I'm moving on.
Okay.
Look, I don't care who you date. I don't live your life. Because guess what? I'm almost 67 in a couple of weeks. This life is so short. I don't have time to invest in what did I do wrong. God knows my heart. He knows that you are a dynamic daddy. He knows how many men even think about that.
Right.
How many men even put the energy into thinking about, did I do the wrong thing? So the fact that she has you to even reflect means that she's a blessed child.
And I'll say, like, Sho and I, we've been like, social media friends a long time. So like it's been amazing because I have a friend that we both have our daughters going off to college. We both have 4-year-old toddlers that are autistic. So we have that bond and we talk about a lot of things. But I will say for sure, Sho has been the best male figure in a daughter. Like if I could go back, like I want Sho as my dad. Like he's always with Neezy from little. Sho has always been like that dad. So I know, Nyla has those those tips and that information. She has those keys. It's just now she just has to find those doors and
she
maneuver
might call
through.
him. She might call him before she call you.
Right.
So that's the other phone you better have tapped up. Out of nowhere, they'll call you and say, "Look, I got to talk to you about something. I can't talk to my mama right now."
Right.
That's a gem to have somebody you could talk to. And so that's the other point of we parents as we talk about choices and decisions. We need to create someone for that person to come to.
Right.
My husband and I are that for a lot of young people, who go to Benedict, go to Allen. When they don't have no food, they'll come by and ask, can they get something to eat?
Right.
My husband was out of town. I ended up with 3 baseball players in my house. because they got put out of an Airbnb. And I'm like, I thought I was going to be walking around naked. No, I'm not. I got 2 strangers in my house. But we want to be that.
Oh, gosh.
Right.
You know, hey, we want to be that for somebody's child. So we should create, if we know somebody in a space, call them ahead of time. Say, look, my child's going to be in your town or whatever. You know, can you just be
your village is just as important. You know, the village that you have, like we're in California. So our friends and family that's in Texas, you know, I'm relying heavy on them. You know, I'm relying like, and Jada knows, like, if Jada is in a pinch, hey, you know, I'm feeling too drunk, I'm out at this party, she knows she can call someone and they can come pick her up, you know. So I always stress the importance of your village is just as important. You know, Jada may not always come to you know, my wife and I, but I know she has some people that she can count on.
I think I really called everybody.
Say that again, Courtney.
Courtney breaking up.
Everybody college. He's on the lookout for my sister. So he's there for him.
Is that
She breaking up, but she said she called everybody in Charlotte that she knew. I'm a master lip reader, by the way. She called everybody in Charlotte that she knew and told them to be on the lookout for her son. Caught all that. Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit. So I want to pivot just a little bit to this question that was in the chat. One of the questions that was in the chat. It says, the commenter said, "Why does it feel like I'm walking on eggshells around my 2 college students? It's very tense at times, so I'm very uncomfortable talking to them about HIV." Again, the teenage hormones are they're a little different. They're a little different. So whoever wants to answer this, please chime in and give this person some insight.
Well, let me just go ahead.
Always on eggshells with her, everything about her. So I mean, some things I just have to say, you know what? I don't care if you're upset about this. I don't care if you don't want to talk about this. It has to be talked. Like, we're gonna have this conversation. So you might let's just be happy about it. Because we're gonna conversate about this. We're gonna get to the root of it. I'm gonna tell you how I feel about it. I'm gonna help you out. And I'm only doing this because I so they just have to take.
Well, there's a lot in the question. So let me say that. There's a lot in their question. Yeah. And I'm not sure, and again, unless we were in a direct exchange, so I apologize if I don't process things right. But let me say that I sense that there's a general discussion that either has not been had prior to their experience in college, and there may be a general level of discomfort in general. I would be very interested with the person who's asked the question, why is the conversation specific to HIV? You know, versus challenges that they're facing and pressures that they may be experiencing being in a college environment where sex is free and can be often if someone would choose to engage. I would be very interested to know how her college students identify. Do they identify as heterosexuals? Are they same gender loving young adults? Because all of that plays into how I translate, ask questions, and address issues.
And how comfortable they are to, you know, talk to the parent.
Absolutely. And so I think there's a lot more in that question. I mean, certainly I would love to have that conversation with them. I don't know how we put our phone numbers and emails in the chat. I guess, how do I do that anyway? But here it is. So certainly, I think part of what we try to do here in this space is to ensure that we're just not talking at people, but that we are creating opportunities for them to get more information or just to have a one-on-one. I know I'm always open to that. I did not share that my training is in human sexuality and family life education. Um, my work primarily was working in school districts, in 94 autonomous school districts, trying to teach teachers how do you discuss and present information to young people around reproductive health, pregnancy prevention, STDs, etc. Um, I still don't feel like I know everything. Now I have grandsons. Grandsons are totally different than granddaughters. I have a great granddaughter. I know she's going to be a piece of work. You know, I have a great grandson who already manifests different personality traits. I don't know how he's going to be, but I know that I'm an old chick. I mean, my 14-year-old's constantly telling me how old I look, and all I can tell him is, you better hope that you
Okay.
look good and this vibrant at 67.
Let them know, Miss G.
Dude,
G.
why you? A matter of fact, we can take it to the court if you want to go there, since you want to talk about somebody being old.
So
But
so
I got off track. I'm
yes,
sorry.
put your information in the chat, Dr. G. And we're running short on time, but I want to pose a question to everyone, and I think it has to be said that and I don't have any data to back this information up, but I'm pretty sure we can all agree that there is a link, specifically at younger ages. There is a link between one's mental health and one's um, sexual decision making, or our decision making as a whole. But we're talking about sexual choices at this point. How have you as parents navigated some of the mental health struggles that come with being a teenager in this generation? How have you helped them navigate the mental health issues, the social medias, the comparing themselves to others, the going through COVID and being isolated for 2 years? Because if you go through COVID, you don't have any friends that you can actually touch and come in contact with. Once you get out and you can start being around people and touching people, then you might respond a little bit differently, right? I got a neighbor he's 16, nicest kid I've ever met in my life. I'm talking about mannerable, yes sir, no sir, cuts my grass for me, does all of the things. First day of school, I said, hey man, I said, how was school today? He said it was great. I said it was great. I said, in all my 40-some years, I ain't never heard a 16-year-old say the first day of school was. I said, why was it great? He said, because I got to see my friends that I hadn't seen in 2 years. They had still been virtual. He said, I got to have conversations and lunch with them after 2 years. And that made me think about the struggles that come with not being able to have those connections. And not only that, but not having the mental capacity to navigate that, right? So how
Right.
have y'all kind of handled helping them through the mental aspect that we've seen coming with being a teenager and dealing with COVID and all of those things over the last couple of years?
I've just had open dialogue with Liana, and I also have her in therapy. She came to me and told me that she wanted to go to therapy because I was in therapy. Well, I've been in therapy continuously since 2018. So she was like, "Ma, I want to go to therapy. I just want another outlet. I want to talk to somebody else." Sure. So she is still in therapy at NCAT doing the virtual, therapy sessions.
Mhm.
And I love that. But I just we just have open dialogue. How are you feeling? Liana actually excelled during the pandemic. She had straight A's. But when they went back to school, her grades like kind of slipped a little bit. She still was on honor roll, but it wasn't straight A's. And so I was just like, wow, where other kids were actually struggling, she was excelling.
Mhm.
My life didn't change. I already have a remote position, so I was already at home with her. So I just was like, how are you feeling? I mean, what's going through your mind? She's on social media, so she sees everything that's going on, in the world. And I just ask, how does that make you feel? What do you want to talk about? And therapy has helped as well. Just her having different people to talk to. I know it's not always going to be mommy, so I want her to have another avenue of help.
Bree?
I the same, just having that open, dialogue with your kid. And then always I'm a big believer in just transparency. So, especially during like the COVID times and lockdown, I made sure to be transparent with how, lockdown is affecting me. I think especially like our generation and older, like I knew my mom struggled, but people always say like, "Oh, my mom, she worked so hard. I didn't see her." But I want Jada to know, like, no, I'm struggling mentally, so it's okay if you're going through something. Like, just being open and honest with her. And it and I think I especially as far as the school, I wish Jada would have went to the A's. When she was in COVID lockdown, but I was in nursing school. I started January 2020. So like my whole nursing program was virtual. So I couldn't, it was hard to fuss at Jada about like her being so lax about the classes and the teachers, like, they're just like, yeah, they're just giving them just filler work or whatever. But it was hard for me to fuss at her because I'm in class and I'm not even really caring. Like I'm waiting to the last minute. I'm doing this, so I totally understand like, that whole like, yeah, I got class, whatever, like that virtual thing, it really messed me up. And, I wanted to always make sure I told her, I understand, but this is what we have to do to get to the next thing. We have to push through. So it's going to be hard, but just keeping that communication open and, just letting her know, like, it's okay to feel down. It's okay to miss your friends. It's okay to not be happy that we have this lockdown and things like that. But, it's just, sometimes it just can be hard because you have those outside sources, but you just have to be honest and hopefully they understand and they get it. And I think we don't give children credit. They're little people, like little adults. So I think, like you said, like we instill those things and they may not show it, but it sometimes in just conversations, a recent conversation Jada had, I was like, I kept it cool when we were talking, but afterwards, my wife, I was like, "Did you hear that? She listening to us, like we doing something." So it's just like in those important moments, they get it. We have to like give them more credit because I was thinking, I'm like, Lord, my child, I don't know what she gonna do, but the stuff that she says in just quick conversation, I'm like, okay, she gets it. So I just think in communication and just not having that judgmental parent type of energy, it definitely helps them, give them that space, that open space to talk and be honest and stuff.
Courtney?
Am I breaking up still?
Not right now, no.
Okay. Well, far as COVID and being home and the mental dealing with that, as you said earlier, it shows you're a helicopter parent and I am too. So most of the time I'm always telling my no to going places, different places. So I have two that were in the house together. So a lot of times they're used to spending a lot of time together. So I didn't let them go to a lot of things. So they're kind of used to being in that space with each other and having each other to rely on and to talk to. But they definitely have their separate friend zones, and I'm able to communicate with them about whatever the issues are. But most of the time, they don't want to hear what I gotta say. So the plus was my youngest daughter having a sibling who is older who can talk to her about a lot of things. So she really don't want to hear what I'm saying. I'm telling her, but I am praying that she's listening. And then she has big brother who will pretty much give her the fine line too about things.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think it's important for us to have conversations about mental health with our young people. A lot of them are struggling silently. A lot of them don't have the tools to cope with these things. So the same ways that we talk about sexual health and physical health, I think it's just as important to speak with them about mental health, because they don't, you know, we didn't come up with therapy being cool. We didn't come up
Right.
with our parents going to therapy. And so I tell my daughter every other Sunday, like, I'll be back. Like, I gotta go holler at my girl. Like, I gotta go talk to my therapist. Like, without a problem. Like, if it's a Sunday morning and I'm not in the house, then you know where I'm at. Like,
Right.
I'm at the spot for an hour, sometimes longer than that, right? But I think it's cool that they get to see that, and that we as parents get to have these conversations with them, so they can then begin to develop those tools and implement those strategies that need to be put in place in order to help them to succeed, right? And I think that's important. So just wanted to say that, to throw that piece in there. If we're talking about sexual health with college students, it's always important to talk about mental health. Dr. G, you just sent me a link. Is that something that you want to share with everyone, or
It is.
okay? I didn't know. I didn't know.
So part of our goal this evening is to ensure that we get feedback. And the HIV Clinical Trials Network, we've been through a lot through COVID. And as you all have articulated, and we've talked about all different types of aspects. But one of the advances we've made, we came up with a vaccine. And HIV, we have yet to come up with a vaccine, because as we talk about sexual health and talking to our young people, we look for a day when stuff will have a cure. And we don't have a cure for HIV right now, but what we are working on are clinical trials that will help us come to that day, like we did with COVID. We now have a vaccine. And so the survey that you're seeing in the chat, we would ask, Mr. Chavis and I are asking that you, at your leisure, it'll take you maybe 5 minutes or so, that you cut and paste that. Go to fill that survey out for us. It will give us some information that we need about where you are and what you understand. So we would very much ask that you would fill that out for us, since I can't see everybody who's on. But in closure, Dion, I just really think that this conversation has been so fruitful. I would love to see how more men also think about this releasing of parenthood. I know my husband talks about how they dropped him off in college and just bye. I mean, it wasn't no walk through the campus and all that. They just said, we got you here and bye. And
figure it out.
We talked about what that was like, just getting dropped off. And, as a young man on a college campus, and 4 years later, he had a degree. But I think he probably had his own sets of questions and wondered, how am I going to make it through this space? And so I've been grateful for tonight to hear from Bree and Maya and Courtney and you about what it's been like. Because quite frankly, I forgot.
It's real. It's realer than it ever was, Dr. G.
It's a point where we say we forgot. Because right
now, it's real
talk to him and everything. I'm like, didn't you just drop him off? You said you talked to him again and you back on the campus? What? Girl, stay off the campus. Let's go say, what's your son's name?
Jalen.
They gonna be saying, Jalen.
Jalen.
Your mama up here again?
They
really are, and it's gonna be for the rest of his life. I said, I know he's sick of me. I'm so serious.
They probably got a chat going on and everything, and they don't talk about everything. Jalen mom, she fine, dog.
Matter of fact, no. What they gonna be saying is, Jalen mom look kind of good.
Yeah.
Jalen, your mama got it going on.
They gonna throw your name on the football field to throw him off his game and everything.
Right. We already have a shirt to say Jalen mom on it now.
Yeah.
Courtney,
They
don't
gonna
feel
have
bad.
security at the gate for
Don't feel
Courtney.
bad.
You
I
got
cried.
it.
Look, don't feel bad, Courtney. I cried for 3 days straight. Don't feel bad.
Did you?
Don't let,
Y'all,
So
I haven't
What a
cried.
man.
I
I love it.
3 days.
haven't cried.
I love
Two
it.
I
days.
have not cried.
Bribery?
What?
I think you know what it's been so much because literally like we were moving to California and like we moved to California before she even moved to college, so it was just a lot. But I know when she's coming for Christmas, so when she leaves,
It's gonna hit
they
you. Okay.
they gonna have to
That's what
drag
you
me out of the
think.
airport.
That's what you think.
That's what I think.
That's what you
That's
think.
what I think.
You
Yeah.
gonna be saying, "Who? Thank God they gone."
Right.
I probably will say that when he get here, but for right now,
Right now. Yeah.
Thank you,
yeah.
Dion.
Right now, I'm like,
I'm
please
over
come
crying.
back.
I'm over the crying now. I'm like, Mama, about to have some fun.
Okay.
I'm like, it's time to have some fun, okay?
Yeah.
I
And
ain't
shout
got
out,
that
thank
yet.
you, Dion, for this. Like, this
Listen.
is a great conversation to have. And I think, it's so important, especially for Black people,
Absolutely.
parenting, we can have this outlet and we can talk and they can, we can talk about, things that we're familiar with. So, you hit it all. You always hit it out the park.
Facts. I appreciate y'all. We'll do another conversation, Dr. G. We'll figure out what we're gonna do for next month. I got an idea, but I want to bring us back together again at some point. Maybe we can revisit after the first semester or year, and we can come back and we can kind of talk about where we are. And
I think that'll be cool. Yeah.
So I will be looking forward to that. And as always, man, make sure you follow us. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and just check out the Black People Parenting Facebook group. It's
I can
there.
tell you what, we need to have them when you bring us back.
Mm-hmm.
They got to bring the young folks with them.
right?
They need to be
That'd be cool.
Good.
Fun.
I think that'll be dope.
Yeah.
I think that'll be dope. So let's plan for that later on in the year. But thank y'all again. Black People Parenting, YouTube, Facebook, podcast, all the things. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, do what you got to do. And we'll holler at y'all on the next episode. Peace.
Bye.
Peace.
Thanks, y'all.